Okay, I think we're live. So, welcome to the Startup Leader Show, where we learn lessons from leading startup founders and executives. I'm your host for today, Lisa Dreher, and I'm really excited to introduce Matt Chacon. He's the founder and CEO of Doghead Simulations. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, happy to be here.
Absolutely. So I am really excited about the work that Doghead Simulations is doing. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So, Doghead Simulations is a spatial computing company, and we have a product named Rumi, Rumii. And Rumi is very simple. It's a virtual reality platform for education and training. Pretty straightforward.
That's great. That's great. So talk to me a little bit about some of the use cases or customers that are using Rumi today.
Yeah, sure. So we've got about 7,000 institutions around the world using us right now. And we operate in three main market verticals, so education, enterprise, and defense. But everybody uses us for the same thing. It's typically, instructor-led distributed education or corporate training. And we have a lot of penetration in higher education. So some of our customers and use cases there would be like Harvard University uses us to do, teach Egyptology. We've got, that's a typical use case. We've also got you know, um, enterprise companies like Ericsson use us for conferences and corporate training. And the Defense Department uses us for pretty much the same thing, do instructor-led, distributed education for their, next series of leaders.
Wow, that sounds really cool.
Mhm.
So what is the weirdest thing that someone has put has put on VR so far in your platform?
Oh my God, there's been so many. That's a great question. We had the weirdest thing that we've ever had anyone do is two things. Number one, we had a very secure intelligence conference done in VR, and we have been approached on multiple occasions, which we haven't done, but we've been approached on multiple occasions to have adult parties in
Oh,
VR.
sheesh. Oh,
So like,
uh-oh.
yeah.
That's gotta be one of the weirdest ones. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I am really excited to go through. So Matt's agreed to talk to us about some of the lessons that he's learned in the development and growth of Doghead Simulations and some of the other, probably maybe some of the other startups and other companies you've been involved in. So let's jump into the content here. So one of my first questions that I really wanted to talk about is, what have been some of the biggest keys to your business success so far?
Good question. So it's hard to find just one. So there's a few actually. The first I would say is focus for sure. So when you're building a business, it's really important to be focused on one simple problem and provide one simple solution to that problem. Once you do that, stay laser focused in order to provide your customer with their most ideal experience. Um, and outside of that, the others I'd probably say is culture is really important. Finding the right team. It's a really difficult thing to do as a leader, but surround yourself with trusted people that challenge you. Is really important to do. Break the rules for sure. Everyone needs to remember there are no rules. I mean, outside of like the obvious legal and ethical and moral contracts that bind us all, there are no rules. There might be best practices, but rules are made to be broken. And as an entrepreneur, you'll learn to do this. That's why, a lot of industries get disrupted. So be unconventional, take calculated risks, and, be brave. But the last thing I'll say around that is probably the most important thing is as an entrepreneur, you always need to be cash conscious. So it should take a tremendous amount of effort to blow the dust off your wallet, creak it open and make purchases. And every purchase that you make should have a very clear return on investment. If they don't, you shouldn't make them. I mean, I've seen a lot of companies, many companies in my own industry, actually in the spatial computing industry, raise literally tens of millions of dollars, go on wild spending sprees, and then go out of business 18 months later.
Oh, yeah.
So don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I think we've all seen that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for the investors, right?
You're right. And
Yeah.
all of those poor
Huge.
employees that worked at those companies. It's
Yeah,
horrible.
yeah, absolutely. That's really good advice.
Mhm.
So, when you think back over the years, what would you say has been the most valuable lesson that you've learned?
Yeah, definitely. I would say the most valuable lesson for sure is that I'm not the hero of the story. I think as an entrepreneur, we tend to think of ourselves as the heroes on the journey, and we're not. We're the blacksmiths. We build the tools, we sell the tools, and those tools enable our customers to go out and fight the good fight and emerge victorious. So it's our customers who are the real heroes of that journey. It's not us. But if we can focus on helping our customers achieve success, then we will achieve success. For sure, I'd say that's it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, kind of going back now,
Mhm.
knowing what you know now, what advice would you have given yourself kind of back when you were getting started? Is there something that you would have that now you know it? What would you tell yourself?
Yeah, there's a lot of lessons that you learn when you go on this journey, and you kind of fight in the trenches, and you come out a little bruised and bloodied. But given the fact that I've done that multiple times, this is my fifth company. I would say absolutely build a customer funded business. The reason you want to do that is because it enables you to test the market and deliver what people actually want, need, and are willing to pay for. And that also offers you a freedom that you lose when you raise money through investment. I've raised money through investment to build a business, and I've self-funded businesses as well. And the best thing you can do, when you do that, is to build a customer-funded business before raising money. I think a lot of companies, especially tech companies, they raise money on a largely unproven idea. And I've seen people raise money on just PowerPoint slides alone. And when you do that, you raise money in exchange for equity in the very early stages of something that isn't yet successful or market proven. And so what you're doing is you're promising the delivery and success of something you haven't yet realized. So I wouldn't do that, actually. What I would recommend, that instead of doing that, go build your business, build a customer base, get to know your customers, and then when you achieve some important milestones, like some sort of monthly active user, daily active user, or a really important milestone, which is to achieve $1 million annual recurring revenue, then go raise money if you need it.
Yeah.
And customer funded business all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, how have you kind of worked through that in terms of actually finding that market? Sometimes that's, you get this great idea and you're really excited about it, but sometimes it's tough to find that market fit. So, how have you gone about doing that?
Finding product market fit is very difficult, actually. And what you'll do is you'll start a business and you'll have an idea on product market fit, but you need to build in the agility to course correct as you kind of navigate the ever evolving business landscape. So what I would say is it's hard, and it's different for every company. But again, going back to finding one problem, focus on one customer, what is their pain point, and then what is their ideal experience, and focus on providing that ideal experience through one solution. I would say you'll be pretty successful, and you won't need to course correct too much. You will need to course correct, but not wildly switch in one direction or another. So
Yeah.
that focus that I mentioned earlier is key to that.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So, is there one thing that you would do different if you were to start all over again?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I would say I've thought about this a lot. Finding balance,
Oh,
to definitely find more balance. I would, if there's one thing I would do differently, is I'd stop working 16-hour days, 7 days a week, to build my companies. What I do instead is develop more balance between work, home, and personal life. all those are three very important things, and each of those things need to be in balance, or none of them are going to be successful. So for
Yeah.
sure, that would be it. Yeah.
That's really good advice. I think a lot of startup entrepreneurs forget about that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's easy to forget about it because you're building your business and you're so passionate about it. You get so focused on it that all those other things start getting pushed away, and it's
Yeah.
important to keep them in your life and to keep balance and to recognize when you need to do one thing over another. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, great. So, when you think about scaling the business, one of the things that I think often happens to businesses is that they hit a plateau and then it can be hard to find your way past that plateau. What have you done to overcome or get beyond those plateaus?
yeah, so that's going to happen with every business. When you're running a business, you're not just going to start it. People are just going to say, shut up and take all my money, give you all their wallet access to their bank accounts, and you're going to be wildly successful. Not every business is an Uber or a Facebook or an Amazon or what have you. Um, even the most successful businesses had to navigate and course correct. So, and all of them eventually, regardless of success, will enter into a plateau or hit a chasm. So I've done it, and it's a normal thing that happens. So what I've learned to do that's proven very successful for me is this: I focus 80% of my time servicing only 20% of my most active customers. And the reason I do that is because, one, it provides me focus, but also it helps me work hard to leverage the power of their momentum to push us all, my customers and my business alike, past those dead spots. And I work directly with them, pretty much one-on-one with those customers to construct creative bridges, help us cross those inevitable chasms that are going to happen. And doing that has consistently helped me do a few things. It's consistently helped me earn the trust of those customers and then leverage their credibility to organically earn similar customer candidates. And then that helps me scale. For sure, that's it. But outside of that, focusing, 8% of my time on 20% of my customers has actually helped me keep debt off my books,
Yeah.
which is really important to do as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. It's helped me hire the right people when I hit my revenue per head count goals. And it's had the added benefit of making me very attractive, I think, to, either potential investors when we need to have those conversations, or a merger and acquisition candidate.
Sure, sure. Wow, I think that's really good advice. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of businesses struggle with, or, too fast growth. So I think that all of those things can happen. Actually, though, I think that's one of the things that you talked to me about a while ago was that since everyone's moved more to a remote working environment, you've seen a huge amount of growth with Doghead Simulations.
Yeah.
Has that been a challenge?
Oh yeah, yeah. So when in January of 2020, when the global pandemic was, everyone was realizing, oh, this is actually a real thing and it's starting to overtake the world. I live in Seattle, and we were ground zero for America. We had the very first case in Seattle, Washington, for all of America.
Yeah.
And immediately when that happened in January, my new users increased by over 2,000%.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, it was bananas. And so everybody, retreated to their living rooms to work and, go to school from home. And so we had, we had a huge spike, the spike went down and then it stabilized. But, we're still well over 700% new users. And, it fluctuates anywhere from like 700 to 1,400%, depending on what's happening. But just when in September, August, September, when schools started reopening, we saw another big spike. So that success has actually been very challenging for us. While a good thing, it's been challenging to keep up with it.
Yeah.
We haven't hired anyone new since then,
Oh my
because
gosh.
we don't want to just jump on that. We want to make sure it's stable and we maintain that revenue per head count. Those revenue milestones, before we bring people on. But, we have had to augment with contractors. But, the challenge is not that. The challenge is keeping your existing customers happy and then making your new customers just as happy. That's the key to that success. That's the biggest challenge for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, great. So I want to kind of close this up with one last question, and that is, I would love for you to make one prediction about the future of business or technology, whichever, or maybe those are interlocked, right? But what's your prediction? What's your one big prediction about the future?
Yeah, sure. If I can, I know you're closing, but I like to hit them both. So without putting too fine a point on it, I would say if you're a business leader and you don't have a spatial computing strategy, you are wrong. You need to have a spatial computing strategy. It would be akin to like not having a cloud computing strategy in the early 2000s. Cloud computing obviously helps us reduce business costs and scale. Same is true for extended reality or spatial computing. Those technologies are already proven to dramatically reduce business costs, increase productivity. Companies around the world are already adopting them. And I mean, let's be honest, the leader of our digital transformation more than likely wasn't the CEOs and CTOs of most companies. It was COVID-19, So I would say, regardless of how seriously people are responding to the pandemic, we're going to continue to see a continuation of lockdowns and restrictions as cases surge, because regardless of the vaccine, they're still going to surge for some time. So it's important to always be forward thinking and kind of build in the agility to quickly course correct with this evolving business landscape. Regarding technology, same thing. I firmly believe that, the future of technology is spatial. Given the recent advancements in, virtual reality, augmented reality, AI, all of these avant-garde, internet technologies, we're going to continue to see these permeate our everyday realities. Just like mobile computing displaced desktop computing, I think it's very, very clear that spatial computing is going to displace mobile computing. So, we no longer go, drive to work and school. We simply attend work and school. So, I'd finish up by saying, as we see people, continue to suffer the effects of, so-called Zoom fatigue and isolation exhaustion, we're going to continue to see spatial computing technologies become more advanced and more generally adopted. So that would be kind of what I'd close with.
Wow, that's an exciting prediction. Well, so we'll be right here to talk about that when it actually comes to pass, right? So we'll have you back on when have you back on when that happens. I would argue it's probably already there. Anyway, well, Matt, I really appreciate you making time to be here. If you guys should definitely check out Doghead Simulations. It's just dogheadsimulations.com, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So check out Rumi and get your spatial computing plan in place, right?
That's right. That's right. We'll help you get your spatial computing on.
So awesome. Well, great. Well, thanks so much for being here, Matt, and we'll talk to you again soon. And thanks all for joining.
Cool. Thanks, Lisa. See you. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.